Welcome to the Safety Department. I'm your Senior Safety Manager, and this introductory training module is actually a special report from the Human Error News Network. Make sure you bookmark this explainer in your portal right now because you've just stepped into a role where the decisions you make today literally dictate who goes home to their family tonight. Let's confront a really uncomfortable reality right out of the gate.
You've probably asked yourself this. You walk by those big banners on the fences, right? 1,000 days without a recordable injury. And yeah, we celebrate the drop in twisted ankles and minor cuts, but then, out of nowhere, a catastrophic, life-altering event completely shatters that illusion. Why? Well, it's because treating all hazards equally is a massive critical flaw. We're spending all our energy managing low-stakes risks, and we become totally blind to the high-stakes dangers. We are literally leaving the lives of our crews up to blind luck. And let me tell you, relying on luck, that is not a risk management strategy.
Which brings us to Section 1, the fatal luck illusion.
Look, we've all been there. You walk onto a site, it's packed with moving machinery, looming deadlines, just a million overlapping tasks. It's totally overwhelming. And in that chaos, what we call the normalization of deviance starts to take root. Workarounds become the standard, and deadly precursors just hide in plain sight. Here's the thing. Frequency does not equal severity. We waste so much energy chasing these frequent, low-energy near misses, but SIF, serious injury and fatality precursors, they involve high-energy scenarios. We're talking gravity, suspended loads, high voltage. When things go wrong here, the margin for error is razor-thin, it's fatal.
So let's get real about what a SIF precursor actually is. It isn't just about a control being absent. Honestly, that's a rookie mistake. It's a high-risk situation where controls are missing, compromised, or completely ineffective. Think about it. You might tick the compliance box because a guy has a safety harness on, but if the lanyard is too long to actually stop a fall before he hits the ground, that control is completely ineffective. The precursor is still right there. We aren't hunting for paper compliance anymore. We are hunting for physical reality.
Let's dive into Part 2, the data behind the danger.
To get us to stop relying on gut feelings, I brought in a methodology that was developed through a massive 3-year collaboration between industry and academia. I needed us operating on hard science. So we used the Kaiser-Meyer-Alkin test. Yeah, it sounds complex, but basically we used it to ruthlessly eliminate the noise. If a factor was present in both successful jobs and fatal ones, I just tossed it out. That isolated exactly 13 core predictors. Then, using logistic regression, we weighted exactly how much each factor moved the needle toward a catastrophe. We are replacing subjective guessing with objective math.
And all of that rigorous math, it results in this predictive precursor scorecard. This right here is exactly what you'll be using out in the mud. In fact, before your first site visit this week, your task is to download this exact scorecard from our internal portal. You're going to use this to score the probability of a fatality before the work even begins.
Moving on to Section 3, 13 predictors of harm.
These 13 variables aren't just random guesses. Statistics proved they are present significantly more often in SIF cases. Let's rapid fire through the first half. Are the workers unaware of the safe work procedure? Is hazard recognition poor? Is the task a departure from routine? Do they have a plan to address change? What are the overall safety attitudes out there? Are standard rules and procedures being ignored? And honestly, simply enough, are they actually familiar with the task they are performing right now? These human factors are what reveal the true risk.
Okay, moving to the rest of the list. Risk normalization. Have they done this risky thing so many times they just assume it's safe? Productivity pressure. Are they feeling rushed? What is the perceived safety culture from the crew's actual perspective? Stop work execution. Do they genuinely feel empowered to stop the job? Are workers inactive in safety planning? And finally, is the pre-task plan actually adequate? These 13 factors are exactly what distinguish a totally routine day from a fatal failure. Section 4. Field scenarios and trust.
So, we have the math. Now we have to actually go out into the field and find these factors together. And you absolutely cannot do that with an auditor's scowl. You have to build trust. First, pause and just observe the work without interrupting them. Second, ask open-ended, non-judgmental questions so you can learn their reality. And third, verify those critical controls conversationally. Remember, we aren't auditing here, we're partnering with them to figure out what could actually go wrong.
I want you to write this down. Seriously, etch it into your brain. When you're standing out there with a crew, I want you to ask them exactly this. What is the worst thing that could happen right now, and what must be true for that to occur? It's a total game changer. This question cuts straight through the inattentional blindness that plagues these busy sites. It forces the crew to completely stop thinking about the task they're rushing to finish and start scanning for the high-energy sources that could actually kill them.
Let's practice this. Picture this hypothetical scenario. You walk up to a crew, they're working 30 feet up on a scaffold, right next to an active lane where heavy mobile equipment is moving back and forth. We're going to use our disciplined see, think, verify approach. We see the high-energy sources, right? Gravity from the height, and the motion and mass from the heavy equipment. Now we engage the crew.
So you ask them the golden question, what's the worst that could happen? They tell you the excavator could clip the scaffold. You dig a little deeper conversationally, and suddenly, boom, you uncover two massive SIF precursors hiding just beneath the surface. You find extreme productivity pressure because of some late materials, and an altered driving path, which is a major departure from routine. Listen, you wouldn't have seen either of those on a static paper checklist. You had to actually talk to them to uncover the real, fatal risk.
Finally, Section 5, Shifting to Proactive Culture. This is where the power really shifts into your hands. You are no longer just recording what went wrong after the fact. Look at how aggressively this probability curve climbs. The bottom axis is the total weighted score from your 13 precursors, and the vertical axis is the probability of a fatality. When you start stacking these weighted precursors, say productivity pressure, plus a departure from routine, plus poor hazard recognition, the probability of a fatal event skyrockets, completely predictably. You are quite literally looking at the math of an impending disaster.
And this is exactly why your role is so fundamentally critical. The days of reactive box checking are totally over. We do not wait for blood to be spilled to figure out what the hazard was. Your mandate now is proactive intervention. When you see those precursor scores stacking up, when the math is screaming at you that a fatality is brewing in the next hour, you have the authority and the absolute moral obligation to intervene, pause the job, and fix those controls before routine work turns into a catastrophe.
You have the scorecard. You know the 13 predictors. You know exactly how to ask the right questions. So when you walk onto that site tomorrow and you observe the pressure mounting, the deviance normalizing, and those weighted numbers adding up right in front of your eyes, click the link below to access your field simulation test right now. Because you're going to have to decide, what exactly will you do with the final seconds you have left to stop it? This has been a special report from the Human Error News Network.